your seat. Remember, we're networking after. All right. Well, good morning to everyone. It's Wednesday morning. Good morning, 1 Million Cups. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Dawn. You guys are always my cheering crowd. Well, welcome to 1 Million Cups. How many of you guys are here for the first time? Perfect. Our presenters. Well, it's exciting. We're excited to have you guys. To let you know a little bit about 1 Million Cups. Bye, gentlemen. 1 Million Cups is founded by the Kauffman Foundation. We're up in Kansas City. 1 Million Cups is in 90 cities. We just help run the Orlando one. The beauty about being an entrepreneur, coming in and presenting and pitching with us, not only is it bold, but then you can also get our passport program. So you can travel to any of the 90 cities from Alaska to Puerto Rico, and you can pitch with them. So if you want to make a trip and go get some extra opportunity, talk to us. We'll help you out. Kicking it off, my name is Stephanie. I'm a volunteer here. I'm going to introduce our team. Isabella, give a big wave. Hello. Jan, give a big wave.
Hello.
Chad, a big wave. Randall in the back is live streaming us. He gets a huge wave. And we have some other volunteers online and also some more joining our crowd. Currently, we're live streamed in a few of the entrepreneur locations in Orlando, like Canvas and Catalyst. So it's exciting. We're building our community. A shout out to some of our sponsors. We're hosted in this beautiful facility at Rollins, so thank you. I know, Becky, you're representing Rollins today for donating the venue every Wednesday. We're also caffeinated by Barney's Coffee. That's why we're able to have coffee over 1 million cups. And then Torch Studios, you're also a sponsor of ours, so Randall, thank you so much for live streaming us. I know we get people out of the country who travel, but they still watch us online, so it's always exciting. Thank you. And all of us that are volunteers, so we work off of social media, tweets, hugs, and extra hugs for some of us. And Bright House has just decided to start sponsoring us this year, 2016. We've been here for a few years, but to get the recognition that Bright House says, you know what, this is a great facility, you guys are doing a good thing, we're gonna jump on board, we're honored. So give some shout outs to Bright House with us online as well. So the way 1 Million Cups works, every Wednesday morning, we have 2 entrepreneurs that come in and they pitch their product or their service for 6 minutes. Then we have a 20-minute question and answer session with the audience. If you have a question at the end, make sure you raise your hand because we're gonna come around with the microphone so people who are live streaming us can listen. Okay, so first, I'm gonna kick it off with our first entrepreneurs. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them. Jesper and Jaron. I'll let them introduce themselves. But give it up for Didux. We're going to go ahead and welcome them up to the stage.
Thank you. Yep, so thank you all for being here today. Since I only have 6 minutes with you here today, I'll start right off and get into the meat of it. So we all have smartphones these days, right? They are these incredibly flexible devices. You can use them, especially as a small business owner, for whatever you need on the go. You can do your banking, you can send your invoices, you can schedule appointments with your clients. Basically anything you need is right there in your pocket. But for all the flexibility your smartphone offers you, your actual phone service doesn't offer you any flexibility at all. The only thing they do, they basically send calls to your cell phone and it rings. You know, that's it. So they're not really smart at all, really. So there's been some efforts into trying to make a phone service provider smarter. And the biggest one here would be voice over IP, or VoIP. So just to get a feel for it, how many people here know what voice over IP is? Show of hands. Okay, well. For those that don't know what voice over IP is, it's a technology that lets you place and receive calls over the internet, similar to what Skype does. So that's great if you have a smartphone, you have a good Wi-Fi connection, you can call with your business number regardless of where you are, as long as you have a good quality internet connection. But you're going to run into problems. When you go outside, you won't always have that internet connection available to you, or it will be of a pretty bad quality. And that results in a pretty bad call quality as well. And that's really the last thing you want to happen when you're talking to a potential customer. So another problem these systems have is they're incredibly tough to set up. Long story short, you always need a technician to set this up for you properly. So we felt there's a need for a better solution here, and it needed to solve two problems. First of all, we want you to be able to place and receive calls with your business number from your smartphone, and regardless of the internet quality you have available to you. Second problem is you need to be able to set this up yourself. You don't want to be calling a tech support, it's going to raise the cost of these kind of systems. You want to do it yourself. You want to manage it yourself, you want to have complete control. So basically what we need is a smart phone service to go with your smartphone. So before I tell you how we did that, let me tell you a little bit more about myself, about the company, and how this idea came to be. So I've been working in the telecommunications industry for about 8 years now in the Netherlands. I specialized in these voice over IP type systems. And a little over 2 years ago, I started noticing there was a real increase in the demand for a small business telephone service. And the reason was quite simple. Back in Holland, we had economic downfall as well. Things weren't going as good. People started losing their jobs. Unemployment rates went up. And as a result, more people tried to make it on their own by starting some type of business. But really, these people weren't your typical entrepreneurs. These people were basically doing it out of a necessity. They were trying to earn some extra income. So these were, for example, stay-at-home moms that figured they could home craft some stuff and sell it in a web shop online. So they ran into problems. And they would give me a call. And they would ask me like, hey, I have this business now. I don't have an office. Currently, I'm giving out my cell phone number to my clients. Because, everybody needs a phone number if you're running a business. But the problem I'm having is they're calling me 24/7. They're calling me in the weekends. They're calling me when I'm having dinner. It's not that convenient. So do you have some type of service for me where I could use a business phone number on my cell phone? And basically, I would say, yeah, sure. We have this amazing voice over IP system. It has 1 million of features. You can do whatever you want. It scales very well. So here's your username, here's your password, log right in, set up your DID, set up your ring group, set up your extension, forward the DID to the extension, and enjoy. So they had a terrible experience using our product. There was absolutely no way they were going to be able to set this up themselves. So they would need manuals, we'd have to write them. They would need to watch YouTube videos, we'd have to record them. They would rely on our tech support, we'd have technicians send over. All in all, it was just a real pain. Now, from a business standpoint, this wasn't really a huge problem for us because we weren't losing customers over the fact that it was ridiculously stupid to use. Because wherever they would go, whatever phone provider they would go to, they would all have these same problems. In fact, they were using the same system we were, or similar systems as we were, so there wasn't really a big problem from that standpoint. But we did figure, why don't we make something better? Why don't we start building this smartphone service? So I called an old high school buddy of mine, Jesper, who's here today. And he's by this time, he's also a small business owner himself. He owned a software development company. And we met in a local restaurant where I first pitched my idea to him. So he immediately understood the problem. He was a small business owner himself. He wanted to be able to use his business phone number wherever he was, when he's visiting clients and stuff. He wanted more control over when he's available for calls, when he's not available for calls. He wanted to be able to set up menus, and he wanted to do this by himself. So we started building on a product the very next weekend. And this was just, in the attic at his place, basically. And this was in November 2014. By May 2015, we had our first product ready for release. And we called it Bereik, which in Dutch roughly translated means to reach. For obvious reasons, we've renamed this to Didax now. So from there on, I'd like to fast forward to where we are today. We've been in business for a little over a year now. We have a couple thousand customers in the Netherlands, paying customers. And we have a kick-ass system. It's completely intuitive to set up. It's stupidly easy to use. We have no manuals. We have no knowledge base. We have no FAQs. And best of all, we only spend about 3 hours a week on tech support for these 2,000 customers. So we're doing really good. We're growing rapidly, but we figured it's time for a next step, which is to expand internationally. Now, before I tell you more about that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we solve this problem. So first of all, I'd like to show you how you would set up something like, those annoying interactive menus, press 1 for sales, press 2 for whatever. this is what it would look like in a typical voice over IP type system, how you would set this up. So this is what I was giving those people when they called me earlier. You know, I don't have to explain that this wasn't going to work. 90% of you will never be able to set this up. So here's what we did. We made it stupid, basically. We removed about 90% of all the settings that you have. I mean, we have experience. We know what small businesses need. So we're not going to clutter them with a lot of tweaks, a lot of settings, a lot of small features you can tweak to your business. And we talked to them in plain English. We basically grabbed them by the hand, tell them little stories that we can really relate to, so they can translate every single decision they have to make in a system like this to their exact needs. So we made it stupidly easy. And if you just read from the bottom to the top, I'm sure all of you will be able to set this up correctly. So back to where we are. We're looking for international expansion right now. You know, Holland is a great country, we feel anyway, but we only have about a potential market of 200,000 small businesses there. And our product really, we want to go bigger. So before we go anywhere else, best place to start is the USA. You know, you have 500,000 new small businesses signing up every single year. You have 22 million small businesses in total. We only have 60 million people. So we figured this would be a great place to start. So there's a couple of things we're looking for here today at 1 Million Cups. First of all, we want to hear your stories. If you have a business, we want to know what makes your business thrive. We want to know what services you're currently using. We want to know what services you love over here, what services you hate, just so we can use that to get a better idea of what you're currently doing. Secondly, we're looking for partnerships. So back in Holland, we would integrate our service with other services. So if you have some kind of cool platform that lets small business owners do anything, like run a web shop or do accounting, we can integrate into that and really benefit both ways. We can set up some sort of revenue sharing programs. You know, there's lots of opportunities there. And last but not least, we're looking for early adopters. We're scheduled to go live with our system here in the US on February, somewhere in February. We'll announce that later on the website. And when we do go live, of course, we want to have as much early adopters as possible. Simply to have as much feedback coming in as possible so we can use that feedback to incorporate it into our product and really tune it to the American market. So if you feel any of those fits your case, feel free to talk to us after the presentation. If you want to be an early adopter, on the back side of our business cards, we have small coupon codes, which you can use to use our service for a couple of months for free of charge. So I think my 6 minutes are pretty much up now. I'd like to thank you for your time, and we'll move on to the Q&A.
Give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We're going to come around with the mics.
So we have our first question over here. Okay, several. And, just a minute. And just for anybody that needs a reminder, make sure you have the mic in front of you before you start asking questions. Thank you, Jen.
This is how the microphone works. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
So gosh, all the way from Holland. Okay, so I have a lot of questions, but I'll start with two and we'll go from there. How are you any different than Skype, Zoom, Google Hangout, WhatsApp, Viber?
Yeah.
I could go on.
Yeah.
So that's my first question.
Good question. We're way better, first of all, obviously. Well, they provide sort of a different kind of service. You know, with Skype or Google Hangout or Google Voice, these types of systems, they're mainly just so you can place calls with a number from any type of smart device. So you can use your smartphone or a laptop or whatever. So that's usually it's all about the outgoing call. We support that. You can use our system to place outbound calls, but the biggest part of our system is really the incoming calls. So when you do get a call on your local or your toll-free number, your cell phone will ring, but it won't only ring. You will also be able to, in our system, set up a lot of features. You can play some kind of recording to them, which our voiceover artist will record for you. So like, you know, welcome to my business, please hold. You can set up when you want to be available for calls, so what your business hours are. You can send them to a voicemail on specified hours. You can set up, well, the menu system I just showed you earlier. So we really service both ends of the market, and there's not really a provider right now that completely does that. They either focus completely on inbound or they focus completely on outbound. And we focus on both.
Awesome. Thank you for that differentiation. Now that I have that,
Yeah.
How are you going to market it to small businesses?
Well, good question. What we're doing right now, since we're completely bootstrapped still, so we don't have any funding, online is obviously the cheapest and the most effective method for us to do so. In Holland, we've had a lot of success with these partnerships I was telling you about earlier. So we can basically ride on the success of other companies as well. You know, they have a lot of customers, we don't. But our service, for example, we have some cases where businesses would offer a CRM type system, and it would have phone numbers in there. So we would integrate our system with theirs, and now these customers of theirs could click on the phone number, and their cell phone would ring, and they would be connected to the company they tried to call. So that's how we try to add some value to existing systems and really use that as a smart way to market.
Oh, question over here.
If a small business uses services as the voiceover for other companies, how would it work on a multi companies for one voiceover, or would they have to get several different voiceover contracts with you?
You mean the artists that are recording the voiceovers, or?
Like, let's say, for example, a company, let's say as myself, my company,
Yeah.
I work for small businesses who cannot have, they don't have time to have a receptionist at the front desk.
Yeah.
So they would do voiceovers to my company, and I would answer it on their behalf.
Yeah.
How would you guys do that when it's multiple streams of different levels of company?
Actually, remember those partnerships again? That's one of the things in Holland we have had a lot of success with. We have these types of companies in the Netherlands as well. So like you say, basically if you can't pick up the phone but you want someone else to answer the phone for you, we would work together with companies that would do this in a professional way. You know, they would answer with your business name and stuff, and they would basically act as if they were working at your company.
Up to how many can you do?
How many companies under there?
On the one line, yeah.
Well, it's really limitless. It doesn't. Our system scales very well, so it doesn't. There's no limitation, like we say that there's only 5 you can do or whatever. We can scale it up to any number you need, and we do some custom work as well. So if there's like really big assignments and there's really big, setups that you need, we can customize to fit that.
Hi, me again.
Hi.
Well, just that conversation sparked another question, right? So if you are writing on other people's wavelengths, right? I used to be in the cable industry. Are you going to partner with cable companies and the cable voice people and the Google voice people so you can write on their bandwidth as well?
Well, in the background, we work a lot with these types of companies because, when you want to have toll-free numbers, you want to have local numbers, you have to have a huge network. And I mean, like a physical network of cables connecting the entire country together. So obviously, we don't have that. So we work with these types of companies in the back end. On the front end side of things, as in like a really open partnership and where you would integrate the services on a customer level, sort of, these kind of companies are usually quite arrogant. They will much rather like to either buy you or they would like to build it themselves and completely copy you. So I'm not sure we want to do that. I think we can, by staying lean, by staying small, we can pivot faster, we can change faster. We're still a very young company. So the service we're offering here now today, we have pretty good success with, but there's no guarantee that by that time next year my story will be exactly the same. It will most likely not be. So I don't think partnering up with these big companies right now in this phase of the company will really be of benefit to us.
Good morning. I want to express encouragement to you and also some caution.
Okay.
By way of introduction, I have a background in voice over IP, and so I'm familiar with some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
In my own home office, I currently use Google Voice with an OB adapter, and that's basically a free service, free long distance inbound and outbound.
Yeah.
It does have a little bit of a configuration hurdle that would be overcome with an app like the one that you have, but I'm concerned about how you differentiate against that kind of a market. And as part of that question, that device I have, that OB device that converts the home instrument into something that can work on an IP network, that was like a $49 cost to me. Do you do the same thing, or is your service primarily an app that just diverts an incoming number to a cell phone?
Well, our focus really lies in eliminating the barrier between a local or a toll-free number and your cell phone, where these types of systems would usually try to eliminate the barrier between traditional phone systems and desk phones. So we serve a different type of market. You know, we serve the entrepreneurs that are on the go, that are outside, they're visiting clients, and they usually don't even have an home office. So these systems, they're great. You can use them really easily to set things up. Like you said, you will need a little bit of technical knowledge, but it's manageable. But you don't get any of the added value that we provide in terms of the incoming call. You will basically only be able to cheaply call out.
Right, and I started by wanting to express encouragement because I think that you are in a space where there's a lot of competition for business phone systems or business phone solutions. You guys have been able to bootstrap this. You've got a successful customer base in Holland. All of those are, great checks in your favor. Your challenge, I think, is going to be leveraging the partnership approach that you previously mentioned and turning that into something that can sustain differentiation. Because when I first was listening to your pitch, I was thinking this is basically a paid version of Google Voice, which I currently get for free.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I tell you that just to say that if you can differentiate based on the strength of your app or the things that you're bringing to a small business home office environment, then you can get paid customers, but not if they hear Google Voice at the very beginning and say, okay, this is another one of those.
Well, it's one of our biggest frustrations. We usually get compared with these companies like Google Voice or Skype or Google Hangout, these types of companies, and we really don't feel they're the same at all. Like I said earlier, they're mostly focused on outbound calls and really add the value for the inbound calls. When you call one of our customers, you will have the experience as if they're this huge company because it's all set up in a really correct way. We'll have professional voiceovers that are really friendly in talking to you. We'll have these menus, you will have these answering systems.
So I have confidence in you, just that differentiation is something you're going to really need to be able to push.
Yeah. It's one of our problems.
All right, so I have a question actually.
Yeah.
Are there any companies in the U.S. that you plan to partner with, or is there an example of like a smaller company you talked about that you'd like to partner with?
Over here, actually, a company that's active in the Netherlands is also active since recently anyway in the US because they've been acquired by Lightspeed. I'm not sure if that's a really big name over here, but they deliver POS systems for shops. And the company we used to work with in the Netherlands is called SEO Shop. So, search engine optimization. And what they do, they offer a platform where you can really easily set up your own web shop. So they would have a lot of these usually part-time entrepreneurs. They would have a steady day job, and in the evenings they would sell stuff in their web shop. So what we did is we would integrate with their service, and if you were a customer of ours and you were a customer of theirs, and you go to the web shop these people had, there would automatically be a small widget shown on your web shop, which would show your phone number. It would show the business hours you have set up in our system. You could call them. Your call would automatically be queued and stuff, and you could make schedule appointments in our system and in their backend. It would pop up in the calendar and in the appointment system. So that's one of the integrations we did, which is also translatable, or we're going to translate to the US.
Cool, thanks.
Is that you, Don? Okay.
Working with a company, and we're building a city-state on an island off of Honduras, and we're at the very early section when it comes to infrastructure. Mm-hmm. One of the companies that I brought in was True Choice, because they give you all the options, and then they pick out what your best combinations are for networking, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And that might be an interesting place to go because at least they put you into the mix of their business options and solutions. Okay. I can make that happen for you. But then they start picking you every time that they have selected you or their customer has selected you. Mm-hmm. That's an endorsement unofficially. And what you need is to get some endorsements here of companies that are saying what a difference a day makes, so to speak.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That would be actually one of the challenges we're facing here. I mean, we have absolutely no network here whatsoever yet. We have a big network in the Netherlands. There's some companies in the Netherlands that can, introduce us to companies here, but we're really starting from scratch all over again. So that's also part of the reason why we're here today, just to get our network going and get some endorsements from other companies that are using this system.
Yeah, because it isn't something you're going to go directly to the big boys. Get put into the mix of options that the big boys have.
Great, yeah.
And you go through that type of a vendor, I think it'd be a good way to start.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you more about that later.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the price point on this?
Well, that's actually a thing I forgot to mention, which is quite critically, so I'm glad you asked that question. Usually, these voice over IP type systems, which we're not doing, but they will charge about anywhere between $30 to $60. That's sort of the price which you would think about, because there's a lot of manual labor involved because of the tech support and all the manuals and all the issues you would usually have as a customer. Because we eliminated all that, we really don't have a lot of maintenance to do. So we can charge this service, we can charge you only $5 a month for this service. So it scales with you. As soon as you get a bigger company going, you get more multiple employees and stuff you want to work together with, it gets a little bit more expensive. But typically our average customer only pays between $7 to $15 a month for the complete service. So there's no limitations on what you can do.
Yep. Sorry, so that just leads me to another question.
Yeah, sure.
How are you going to make money at $5 a person?
Well, that's the
with
very
your
minimum.
overhead and everything else. I'm just, so how are you going to scale up your pricing to stay in line with, keeping your costs in line and all of that? How are you going to do that?
Well, we have a ridiculous profit margin as well, because we built this completely ourselves from scratch. So we're not, we don't have to pay any royalties, any fees to other companies, any license costs, we don't have those types of issues. So we have a really good margin as well. And this $5 a month, usually when you just start a business and you're one of those people that got fired and they have to sort of earn some extra income, we really felt we had to adjust our price to that situation as well, because after all, they're doing this to earn extra income. So we can't really start charging them $50 a month because they will just, use Skype, for example. So we really try to get them on board in the $5 a month system, and usually we will upsell them somewhere along the way. We would also do this by selling these added value services, which are, for example, our professional voiceovers. They would record any type of announcement or voicemail or whatever you want your customers to hear. They would record it for you, and we have a little bit of margin there as well. So these are the types of upselling we do, and that's why we usually earn a little bit more than $5 a month on a customer.
So you have how many customers in the Netherlands?
A little over 2,000 now.
2,000, and what is your revenue from that?
Well, right now I wouldn't be exactly sure what our revenue is. I'd have to look into that because we have no Wi-Fi connection available, but I could check into that for you later.
So that you could have like an exact number of how much revenue
we have
per customer.
Yeah, apart from the amazing front, that we have a really good back-end system which shows us our average lifetime value, the churn rate, all those.
So you plan to go live here in the U.S. next month?
Yeah, somewhere in February.
Do you have funding?
No.
Business plan?
We have a business plan, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. So, and unless there's any more questions, I guess we're gonna go to break. But we're gonna ask you the one question we always ask everybody, and that's what can 1 Million Cups do for you as a community? And if you have any hashtags that you want us to, tweet, promote your social media.
Hashtags #DeduxUS, of course. Basically, I already mentioned this earlier. We're just looking to get a network out here. We want to meet you all. We want to hear your stories. We want to see what makes businesses thrive over here. If there's any competitors we might have missed in our business plan, I'm pretty confident we didn't, but you never know. So we just want to get some feedback. And of course, like I said earlier, we're looking for early adopters. So that's why we have the business cards with the coupon codes on the back, so you can use our service free of charge for a couple of months, just to get that feedback coming in.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll take a 2-minute break so you can go get some coffee, step out if you need to make any calls or do any other thing that's a personal matter. And we will be having our next presenter up. It's going to be an alumni to give an update.
1 Million Cups is a weekly educational program developed by the Kauffman Foundation.
Over the years, we've added more cities. It creates a great energy here to see what's happening across the country.
What I've learned from other entrepreneurs is very, very valuable.
Sitting in a room with other people that have ideas too, it helps people to leave thinking, you know what,
my idea is worth something. It's worth pursuing. It's worth going after it. Even if it looks like a challenge, I should still go out and try to do it.
Thank God our ears didn't come
So
off.
funny. You're right. Good thing I had. He's not ready. Can you jump in? I don't know where he is.
He's right there. He's talking. Okay, so we would like to welcome our next presenter up. It is Rupert Magnet, and he is the owner of Burnout Game Ventures. He's a 1 Million Cups alum, and so he's going to give us an update about all the exciting things that have been going on since he last presented, and they are really exciting. So we'd like to welcome Rupert up to the stage.
Good morning. My name is Rupert Magnet, and I am with Burnout Game Ventures. We are game investors. We incubate game ideas from 0 to sales in 6 months or less. I have more than 35 years of entrepreneurial experience, and I've taught cutting-edge project management to aspiring game producers at the master's degree level for more than 6 years, the former students of which are managing literally billions of dollars in game IP. The problem with most game entrepreneurs is they just don't know how to make a business out of their game idea. They focus on games they want to sell, not necessarily games people want to buy. And they don't plan, so their scope, their schedule, the marketing, they all go out the window. 95% fail to break even. Now, when you're part of a large majority in a $102 billion robustly growing industry, that's an opportunity, but yes, that's a problem. We solve that problem because we provide them access to all the talent, all the resources, the proprietary processes, and the motivation they need to create quality games as quickly as possible. In our first year, a little over a year of doing this full time, we've had over 200 game developers through our program, working and helped 12 startups on 14 projects. Our first client release was launched in less than 10 months. The very small minority that actually get released usually take more than 36. It's also sold more than 12,500 units and was reviewed by the #1 game reviewer in the world. We currently have 16 game releases scheduled this year. Now, we do this because we believe that if you're not helping others, then really what good are you? We also believe that the ultimate goal of a leader is to make more leaders. So we now have a dozen young entrepreneurs leading teams of up to 30 people themselves to game immortality, on the way to creating 50 sustainable game enterprises in the next 5 years. The opportunity that I'm presenting this morning is for investors to be part of a disruptive business and financial model in the industry of the future, and will provide ROI in as little as 90 days. We already have investors lined up, and we are actively looking for more, obviously. If you're interested, or you or anybody you know is interested in participating in this disruptive business and financing model, then please let me know. I'm here this morning. Let's exchange some contact information. And I'll give you a little taste of some of the amazing game and technology experiences that we're developing. So already, one of the largest game incubators in the world, our clients are releasing games and helping us develop themselves into economic powerhouses. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you so much, Rupert. Give him a round of applause. Now, excuse me, I'm going to butt in because you pitched with us. Well, there's no but I'm going to butt in. You pitched with us last year, just after summertime, right? Yes. In August? Okay, so since then, I have seen Burnout Game Ventures come around in a lot of media. So I hear you're doing big things. What are you doing? Can you give us an update? What's happening?
Well, quite a bit of things, actually. I don't get much sleep these days, but we've been in the news, Orlando Sentinel a few times, Orlando Business Journal. We were on News 13 all last week, Bright House News 13. I gave a a keynote presentation at Orlando IX's inaugural conference last October, and basically called the industry out on the carpet and said, listen, there's no reason why Orlando shouldn't be spoken of in the same hushed tones as Boston and San Francisco and Seattle, et cetera, with regards to the game industry. And I said, the three things that we need to do to become the engine of the game industry in the next 5 years is create a stakeholder group that gets stuff done, pulling all the people together that needs to be together, educating both the public that we're not all going to go postal just because we played Halo for 5 minutes, and then, of course, educating entrepreneurs on how to make businesses out of their game ideas. And then the third one was we need to develop a fund to fund seed capital, to provide seed capital to interactive digital media startups. So not just games, but simulation, which this is the World Center for Simulation in Orlando, as well as VR and AR technologies. So since then, on December 14th, I started the group. Participants in the group include EA, High Winds, the mayor's office, several mayor's offices, the Metro Orlando EDC, UCF, Full Sail, all the major independent game studios, Trendy, N-Space, Iron Galaxy, et cetera. And we decided on December 14th that our first goal is to have a booth at the largest game developers show in the world, which is the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco in March. So this last week, we secured the booth. We've raised over $50,000 in cash and in-kind from sponsors. And we're halfway to where we want to be. I'd like to get about $100,000 in cash because I want to be able to provide sponsorships to indie game companies to actually go there and present their games. So we're moving in that direction. The other thing is the fund, and I'm in the process now of developing a $5 million fund for providing seed capital to these interactive digital media companies. We've already lined up our first few investors, and it's basically a non-equity revenue share model that should provide cash flow within 30 to 90 days, and the idea is to break even, for the investor to break even in 3 to 5 months and get 2x in 5 to 7 months, and then 5% in perpetuity. So my phone's starting to ring quite a bit these days, so that's basically what we're working on. And in addition to running, we have over 300 people in our talent pool, and then a little over 70 people working actively on projects. So it's a lot of fun.
That's so exciting. Thank you. We're opening it up to questions, so please raise your hand. We're coming around.
Got one over here.
Can you, I didn't get the first presentation when you did it in August, so can you give me like a little outline of exactly what your company does? It sounds very interesting.
Okay. As I mentioned, we're an incubator. Well, actually, we're more than an incubator. I call it a venturator. Because an incubator typically will just here, pay us some money on a month, and you have a desk, and you have access to these experts that are experts not in games. And then you have accelerators who you have to jump through their hoops because they're venture driven, and then you throw $50,000 in your direction and say, see us in 6 months. That to me is not helping that much. It's still a venture model, and the venture business model, frankly, sucks. I mean, you invest in 10 companies, 5 of them you expect to fail, 2 of them you expect to break even, 2 of them you expect to get 2 to 5x, and 1 10x. So what we're doing is our business model is saying we're taking the financing or the investment of the development of the games out of the picture. We're doing that. We're assuming all the risk. And what we're doing is we're going to invest and finance the marketing of completed product. So
you don't have any labor overhead, or do you?
Our business model is basically we're all entrepreneurs. Nobody gets paid, including myself, until the game ships. And so that lowers, by taking salaries and that out of the equation, we've lowered the cost by 75% of developing these games. Not only that, but with our proprietary processes and lean startup methodology, we lowered another 20%. So instead of spending $700,000 to $800,000 to develop a typical indie game, we're doing it for $5,000 to $15,000. So you can imagine what it does to our ROI. And then, like I mentioned, we have our talent pool has over 300 people in it. When a new project comes in and we accept it, we send them to the talent pool. They recruit from there. And then I put them through a rigorous educational program where I teach them project management, business development, marketing and sales, accounting and finance, et cetera. And then I just brought aboard an executive producer with 20 years in the industry. And he's going to kick butt and take names, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching these guys achieve what they want.
So you take an equity stake in each one of these games?
Do I? Yes.
Yes.
My model is I get up to 50% of the net revenues for the first 3 years, and then 10% after, and then up to 20% equity.
And so how are you raising your money? I mean, you're getting venture capital, I assume?
Well, we're looking for, thankfully the Jobs Act and the SEC have loosened the strings somewhat, and it makes it a lot easier for us to go out and find capital. I already have, with over 35 years in entrepreneurial experience and raising capital and so forth, I already know a lot of people. So these are people that aren't publicly solicited, and I have quite a few that are interested in funding this. Plus, I have a target market that I go after. Burnout game ventures, right? I know a lot of guys that are into cars, and they have, their companies are automotive related. They're doing $3 to $10 million a year. They're executives or founders of these companies, and they loved playing games in the 80s and the 90s and so forth. And then when I come to them and say, hey, for $5,000, you can just get your feet wet and see what you like about it. And if you don't, you don't take your family to Disney this month, okay? But if you do like it, then you can get involved for more and more. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, quick question here. You mentioned 16 games in the works?
16 releases.
16 releases.
There are 6 games or techs that are being released on multiple platforms. For example, Bit Evolution is our first game release. It's released on Steam, which is the world's largest digital distribution platform, 145 million subscribers. Wow. And we're getting ready to relaunch that game as well. Steam, and then you have Sony, PlayStation, you have Microsoft, Xbox. They all take 30% right off the top. Wow. iOS and Android, also. And so every game that we create, we release on multiple platforms. So they're different games. I mean, they have the same art and they play pretty much the same way, but it's different code. It's basically a new game. Okay. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Definitely, yeah. Because I was going to answer, is it cross-platform? Is it PC? Is it PS? So yeah, you definitely answered the question.
Right.
Hi, Rupert. So I first of all wanted to acknowledge you for creating leaders within our community. That's really an awesome thing, especially, gaming people. This is phenomenal to give them that training and those tools. What is your training process with them? You say you send them through this rigorous training. Is it a one-on-one thing, or is it a something you have every month? How does that work?
Well, we're still in the process of setting it all up, but basically what we do is once the entire team is together, the entire team needs to be involved in the planning and the development of the game. So I put the whole team through a 1-month project management course, at the end of which they have all their documentation created to do the game. They've got their project management plan, they've got their work breakdown structure, their capacity plan, their burn down charts, everything that they need in order to start start developing the game and controlling change. And then our mentors, right now we have 16 advisors that these guys have worked on the biggest games in history, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell, Call of Duty. I mean, these guys, are leaders in their industry as well, and they mentor our clients to, for the next however long it takes to create the game. Now, our goal is 6 months, but that's an average. Bit Evolution took 10 months. We showed at Otronicon this last weekend a new game called Vectromirror, and it was a pre-alpha prototype that we did in 3 months, and we had lines going out the door, especially when we put it on the Oculus, because one of my other company's clients, Symbio VR, we're designing a next generation platform for virtual reality that is basically a fully mobile, untethered suit that anybody can integrate their VR systems into and be able to fully immerse themselves in whatever experience they want. So we had that. We didn't have the suit, but we had the proof of concept there, and then we put the Vectromirror game on that, and that was it. Yeah, it was crazy. Oh, yes.
I think you partially answered what my question would be is,
Sure.
What is the process for evaluating the potential of a game with so many of them that are coming out? Who is it, and how do they go about saying this is going to be a hit?
Well, the first thing is, as you can imagine, ideas are, we're human beings. We're generally creative in nature, and I get ideas all the time everywhere. So what I do is on my website, I have an apply page, so you can apply to be in the talent pool, you can apply to be a client, you can apply to be an advisor. When you apply to be a client, I offer them several different pieces of information that for free that they can access and learn about what it takes to pitch your idea. And so my requirement is basically, number one, you have to explain the game to me, your concept, in a manner that I can easily understand. Because, Einstein said if you can't explain it simply, you just don't know it well enough. Then that includes identifying your target market, and who they are and why would they buy your game. Also, a shoestring budget. What do you really just need, sans salaries and wages. And then, of course, a path to profitability. And you got 9 minutes to do it. And so they send me their YouTube links or their PowerPoint presentations or keynotes or whatever, and then I review them, and if I like it, then I give it to my other clients who are part of my project management office and my advisors, and then we all decide collectively whether or not we like that. And if we do, then we sign the paperwork, negotiate the deals, and let them loose on the talent pool.
Guess I'm up.
Yeah.
So is it typically what, 3 months to turn around a game?
No, I mean, like I said, our goal is to average 6 months. Vectromirror is 3 months. We'll probably put another 3 months into it. Witch Hunt is probably going to take 2 months. Not Without You took 3 months. Other games that are a lot larger in scope will probably take a year or more, though I'd try to limit it to a year. And honestly, even if it's a really big scope game, what we do is we get with them and we understand what the core of the game is, and what the unique selling proposition of the game is, and then we basically limit them to that, and then just get the game out, just get it out, get feedback, start generating revenue, and then use that feedback and revenue to come up with version 2.0 with all the other features that you wanted to put in it in the first place.
Got it. And just a follow-up. So if you take the labor out of the equation, right? So for the developers of the game, their skin in it is trying to get an ROI. So are they part-time developers? What's their profile? Do they have full-time jobs and they're doing this? How does that work?
Yes. We have guys that obviously they have to have some other means of support. Whether it's mom and dad, or working the midnight shift at Home Depot, or driving for Four Rivers or something like that. I mean, they have to do it. I like to consider myself a hardcore entrepreneur. I mean, I've literally risked everything in my life, and I'm doing it now for my business, and that's what I appreciate. I appreciate the true risk takers. And because, an entrepreneur is somebody who manages an enterprise based on two things, risk and initiative. So that's what we encourage in our clients, to take as much initiative and as much risk as possible, but do it in a calculated way. That's why we plan a lot. So, I mean, that's So these guys need to have some skin in the game, and they need to understand that, and that to me inculcates and fosters a much better culture and a much better outlook on everything, on life in general and business as well.
Alert from login window. This computer has been scheduled to go to sleep automatically.
Hi, Rupert. Hi, over here. Hi. Hi, how are you? This is exciting stuff. So 2 questions. How many female game entrepreneurs do you currently have?
Well, we actually let go of most of them in November, basically because they were part of teams that weren't producing. We had at that point about 150 people working on projects. However, if you're talking about diversity, we have much higher than industry averages for people of color, gender, and ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah, no, I'm talking specifically women because I'm curious because I know Twitch has very few females playing and they get very high. They make a lot of money, right? So I'm trying to translate that over to your world is, really how many successful female game developers are there? And from what I'm hearing, none?
Oh no, I know quite a few.
Okay, good.
Susan Gold started the Global Game Jam 7 years ago, and now in 2 weekends, 600 locations around in over 100 countries around the world are going to be participating. Brenda Romero is a friend, and she's been in games for 20 years, and she's doing awesome things for women in games. And then Sherry Grainer Ray, she's also been heavily involved in games. The thing is just like anything else, in order to have a significant showing of any particular demographic, you have to start at the very beginning. So part of our program, hopefully this year we'll start implementing it, is I want to go to not only going to all the middle schools and such to explain to them, hey, this is what games really are. It's not all fun and games, but what parent doesn't need to know that the average compensation industry-wide is $95,000 a year? Okay, so, and even industry teams, indie game teams, those unaffiliated with publishers, major publishers, their salaries are over $50,000. So the thing is we need to get to those kids, and I'm going to be implementing a tutor service, basically, where we're going to be bringing in 5 to 12-year-olds or 14-year-olds and have them and start teaching them, how to code, how to draw, how to do, things like that. Because, man, this last weekend I was approached by so many parents, especially of girls.
Yep.
And I would, once we get them at that early age and open their minds to the opportunities that games provide and virtual reality and simulation and such, then that's going to start bringing in more girls at the bottom, and then they'll filter and all the way up to the top.
Yeah, brilliant. Along that same line, it seems like a natural partnership would be with people that are focused on STEM. On STEM?
STEM.
Yeah. So yeah, anything inside that realm, that would be a natural partnership. So then my second question is your pool, right? Your pool of people. I get they can go online and apply for that. So what are the top 3 people, the jobs, for lack of a better term? What are the top 3 jobs that you that you need, that are needed, the top 3, roles that are needed in game development?
Let's see, programmers and programmers. Yeah, and programmers. Well, we have over 50 disciplines that are in our talent pool. It's from level designers and character artists and 2D artists and 3D artists and animators and riggers and modelers and Unity developers and C++ and Java and all these things. I mean, voice actors, mocap actors. I mean, we have all kinds of people, and people from zero experience. We just started an internship program, and we're talking with 30 schools in the Southeast about bringing in interns, and all the way up to I mean, Levon Lewis is one of my advisors, and he's actively working on several titles. He's an Oscar and BAFTA nominated audio engineer, and Terrell Portilla was in the movie industry. His first movie was Independence Day, and he's worked on blockbusters. And then he calls me and he says, "Hey, my brother tells me, I'm interested in getting into games." And I look at his resume and I was like, "Oh yes, thank you." And then of course we work with EA and all the other large game companies, so that if entrepreneurship's not for everyone. They don't call them the 1% for nothing. And so if you come to us and you give it a good shot, and we like how you work and all that, then after 6 months to 12 months, if you say, "Oh well, it's not for me. I've got a kid on the way. I'm getting married or whatever. I got student loans to pay or whatever," then we farm their resumes out. And so we have, which is a lot cheaper to EA, because now they're getting not somebody that's not just green behind the ears, but they've got experience working on teams, project management, business development, and all that stuff. So it's a win-win. I try to make it a win-win for everybody.
Okay, we're probably out of time anyways. I was looking at this thing from the standpoint of your corporate engineering, because you're going to have a holding tank that's holding all of your intellectual properties, your trademark, trade secrets, trade dress. You're saying that you're going to have ownership, 20% ownership in a variety of companies. So where you're offering your return on investment, is that in a separate entity, or is it coming out of that? Because you're not doing, okay, so you're licensing your marketing rights to a separate entity, and then out of that, that's where the proceeds come. Because what does $100,000 get in terms of a percentage on revenue?
Well, there's actually two programs. One is for people to invest directly through BGV, and basically they give me a check and then I just give it to the marketing company. I don't even touch it. And then the other one is a fund, and the fund will have a management company that manages the fund, and then a separate entity will be the fund itself that disperses the funds to the investors. 75% of the revenues that come in through BGV will go directly to the investor until they get their money back. And then 50%, then it goes down to 50% until they get double their money back, and then 5% in perpetuity. It's a revenue share. There's no equity exchanged because they're not investing in the IP of the product. They're investing in the marketing of that IP. Does that answer?
You have an eternal benefit.
Oh yeah. I'm sure if we had a hit, if you invested in a hit, the last thing you would want to do is we say no more checks. Yeah.
The thing that I didn't see in this time either was on team, because I'm making this up. I was hearing this in my head a minute ago, that an entrepreneur, when you're talking about risk, I'm going, okay, that's a king of risk. But an entrepreneur without a team is kind of like a king of foolishness. So I'm hearing you use the word team when you're talking about other developers, but I just didn't get an idea of what you're using. You have a community supporting you, I see.
Yes.
But, I mean, it would have felt good to have just seen a slide that said, these are the guys that are on my advisory board.
Well, she told me about this last night. And she said, hey, you want to come in and text? But yeah, like I said, the first thing they do is they go to our talent pool and recruit their team. And then we put the whole team through the education process, and then the whole by that time the team is a well-oiled machine, and my goal is to get them thinking like project managers. And so at the end of that month they are, for the most part, and they're all helping each other, and they're codependent on each other and so forth, and then they move forward from there, and then we have all our advisors and mentors that are also helping them along the way. So it's very team-oriented and very team-based because, yeah, no one man's an island. Yeah,
sure.
Okay. Okay, so we have to wrap it up. So, but all of our presenters will be here for you to network with. So we have a 30-minute window of being able to do the networking. So make sure you have your cards ready, or at least your phones, to get information. And we want to thank our sponsors, Rollins for our space, Barney's for our coffee, Randall for Torch Studios for live streaming, and then we also have Bright House as a sponsor. Again, thanks to all of the organizers and our presenters, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. You're welcome.